This is grown man. Roads, grown man. This is grown man.
This is grown man, no man.
Roads, grown. This is grown. This is grown man. Roads, grown man. This is grown man. Roads, grown. This is grown. This is grown man.
I want to talk about something right now that's been sitting with me for a while. And it's the sadness of watching family, friends, coworkers, or even people you just happen to know because you live in the same community, the same neighborhood, slowly lose a sense of what once was. And it's not lost on me that I probably sound like some old cat right now. Some old head sitting here talking about how things used to be. But you know what? It is the truth. Because when it comes to the topics of conversation and the social issues that we deal with in this life, in this world, there isn't one side or the other that I can honestly say I agree with more. I don't think we're dealing with just Republicans and Democrats. I don't think we're dealing with just progressives and conservatives or liberals. I think we're dealing with something bigger. It wasn't too long ago, at least it doesn't feel like it was, when things used to be somewhat civil. And I'm sure my elders probably said the same exact thing about their time and their era. But it's not like that anymore. There is a lot going on, and there is a lot of noise being spewed everywhere, and your social media feed is thriving because of it. There's anger, there's angst, there's depression, anxiety, frustration, poison, vile, and just pure hatred. Negative energy coming from everybody. This is a new day and age where tit-for-tat has become the norm, people, no matter how low the bar goes. And when we do that, when we participate in that, the ones who really suffer are the kids, our children, because they're growing up watching it. They're seeing this as status quo. They're seeing this as normal, and it's not. I don't have to agree with somebody to be their friend. And that has become hard for people to understand. I don't have to agree with you politically to be your friend. I can be your friend and we can have completely opposing views just as long as there's a level of understanding and mutual respect. And what I mean by that is simple. My views don't impose on you and who you are. Your views don't impose on me and who I am. And I feel like we've gotten away from that big time. If there's going to be a level of understanding, it has to work both ways. And look, I grew up in a time where you really had to brush yourself off when you fell. There wasn't a place to go and talk about it. There wasn't a space to unload your frustrations, your thoughts, your pain, your anguish. And maybe it would have been pretty cool if there was, but there wasn't. I also feel like it's also responsible for why a lot of us from that era developed a tendency to just roll with the punches. You get knocked down, you got back up. You kept moving. And now we live in this era of cancel culture that's been in play for 10 years or so. And honestly, I find it disturbing. Not because people shouldn't be held accountable. They should. But because somewhere along the way, cancel culture became, if you don't agree with us, then you're wrong. And that's just not true. There's also this idea that if you don't follow certain principles, then somehow you're not American enough. And I don't agree with that either. And then there's this era of idealism or selective idealism, I guess. It almost doesn't matter what you believe anymore. The truth is whatever somebody says it is. And if you're not able to follow along and pick up the pieces, so to speak, then you're wrong. Everybody's definition of what is right and what is wrong and what is acceptable and what is unacceptable becomes subjective. Social media has amplified all of it. Because now everybody has immediate access to everybody else's response. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a microphone. And then you got a bozo like me who has a microphone too. But maybe that's the point. Because there's so much we could be doing with this platform, with this technology. with social media, with the internet, with our ability to access the world in real time. We could be doing something good with it. We could be learning from one another. We could be talking to one another. We could be listening. We could just work on being good people. Because hate gets in the way. Anger gets in the way. And as much as I know there's a lot on the plate of young men and women in the country right now, there's a lot on the shoulders of the parents raising those children. There's a lot riding on people who are just trying to find their way in today's world. And here's the thing. At any point in human history, people were dealing with problems of their particular era. And we have elders and ancestors who went through horrific things just to give us the opportunity to be here. They fought, they sacrificed, they struggled, some overcame. So if we need to do what we need to do to preserve that, to protect our families and to fight for a better future, I completely understand that. Where I get lost is in how we treat each other in order to get there. One side gets nasty, so the other side says, well, now I want to get nasty too. Why not? Tit for tat. You did it to me, so I'm going to do it to you. And I understand. There are times when you have to play ball a certain way. I get it. But I've also realized something. It doesn't get us anywhere because our children are watching. They're watching us argue. They're watching us insult each other. They're watching us divide ourselves. They're watching us justify behavior because somebody else did it first. And eventually, they're going to believe that's just how adults are supposed to behave. So who's losing? And who's winning? Where are we going to be 50 years from now? And how are we going to look back at that period of our lives? Because as men, and especially as fathers, there's a sense of duty to protect your children and your family from things that can harm them. But my perspective on what those things are going to be are different from yours. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to want to protect your kids. You're going to want to protect your family. You're going to want them to have a better life. So maybe that's where we start. Maybe we don't have to agree on everything. Maybe we don't even have to agree on most things. But if we can agree on one thing, maybe that's enough. We both have children we're trying to protect. We both want our families to be okay. We both want the next generation to have a chance, to have a say, to have a voice, and whatever that is. Can we disagree without destroying each other? Can we fight for what we believe in without teaching our children that hatred is the price of having an opinion? Because maybe being a grown man isn't about always being right. Hell, maybe even being an adult isn't about always being right. Maybe sometimes it's about knowing when being right isn't worth losing your humanity. And that's something worth thinking about. Well, that's it for me. My name is Felix C. Arroyo. This is Grown Man News. Remember, stay steady, stay focused, stay grown.